Hi, and welcome to Now TV Canada, and I am Just Jen YouTube channel. I am Just Jen. So I am laid up in recovery, post-gastric bypass revision surgery. So I'm very sore, and a lot of pain. And then I wake up to the news that I lost Gene Hackman. So then I realized I have to make this video, whether I'm in pain or sore, and trying to rest and recover on my own with no extra support to help. Anyway, I have officially lost every single actor that I needed alive, that I wanted to work with and have read the work that I wrote that was inspired by who they are in this industry and the original characters they played and the original work that inspired me to write the amazing work I'm the writer of. So now I've lost Christopher Reeves, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, and Phil Donahue, all of whom were vital parts of the final drafts and production of Supergirl 2, 3, 4, Smallville movie 1 and 2, and my independent Superwoman movie that didn't get to be added into all of that work, since those 5 manuscripts didn't get done in the time that all of them were still alive. So I want to say how harmful evil is, right? How easy it is for evil to do evil things. How harmful dishonesty can be. How bad it is when people are selfish and greedy. When they're just thinking about their own egos and seeking attention for themselves. Wanting all of it for themselves. Bigger, better, more of. In spite of the fact that there's nothing under the sun new that they're offering back, that they're giving in trade or exchange. I want to show people from this experience of the last decade how harmful an unhealthy relationship can be. A relationship that is wrong, that shouldn't happen, that shouldn't have happened, and shouldn't be happening, where people are working together to try to build up some sort of image in making bad look good, to the point where everybody in the world who's good can see just how bad it is, and that they can no longer hide how bad it looks, because it looks as bad as it is, and that you can't make good look bad when you can see how good it is. You can't make that kind of good look bad, because that's what's happened in the presence of the time. I have completed these movie scripts and wanted to work with all these actors whom I have loved, cherished, respected, adored, and was inspired to write all of this over and because of. So I'm just literally crushed that I didn't get to meet Gene Hackman, and that he didn't get to read this trilogy, and didn't get to have any say in the editing and the final draft of the work, or get to have his name put on a chair that says executive producer with a sweater on it, or hearing his voice speak last words on a microphone or something in a recording studio. And the same thing with losing Phil Donahue, who's literally the Mac Donahue at the very end of the very first movie script for the Smallville reunion movie. So now I'm left faced with the evil Superman, right? What wrongful desires can result in a person who starts off good, who's been given lots of blessing by God and opportunity and advantage, and then totally forgets about the priorities and what is right. And then by doing that, resulting in the right outcome, you're witnessing instead the results of doing wrong and what the outcome is from that, right? So it's very clear that my work is good and it stands alone on its own merits, in spite of what I just went through over this last decade. So today, I'm going to read the part about Gene Hackman getting out of prison in my Supergirl trilogy. I might read some other parts. Depends on how long I run this. Because this is obviously an offline video. In honor of him passing away and in honor of how good my work still is. In spite of Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, John Schneider, Kristen Kruick, all of the big agencies, CAA, Warner Brothers, everybody doing wrong by me and wrongful to my work and the history of the living actors that I could have kept alive. Like Margot Kidder would not have probably picked up the bottle and started drinking again. She wouldn't have relapsed. She wouldn't have poisoned herself. She wouldn't have died. If there had been enough love to grant me the wish of being able to reach her with the script while Gene was still in the world, so I could still have two of them from the original Superman movies to partake in the perfecting of this amazing work that I have done. Instead, now they're yapping about this release of James Gunn stuff and other stuff that they have done in a decade that is no good. It doesn't even come close to how good my work is, and I never need to watch any of that. Right? Like you guys don't need to play your movies in Canada anymore. It's just no point in it coming over here. Solicited writers are not the best writers in the world. They're just not even good. Like, not even fair writers. You have to write what you know, and in order to know what you know, you have to actually learn stuff. You have to experience life. You need to read books. You need to do things. You can't just be all about flashy, quick, high budget things, thinking that that's what you were born to do, that that's the good business, or that that's talent, and losing people, dying people in the process of thinking and doing what you do. Well, that's not good business. That's not good people. And so there's repercussions for that. So this part here in the Supergirl movie is Lex Luthor getting ready to go to the parole board. If everybody remembers the Superman scene where Christopher was bringing Otis and Lex over the wall into like the big, huge, crazy prison. Oh, I can't think of the name of the place now. Anyway, they're dropped off there. Now, he's a huge menace to society, right? So Lex Luthor was given like many decades of time in prison with Otis. They did grant them the ability to stay in the same prison together, so they at least had each other to talk crazy to. However, Lex Luthor was not some crazy, drug lord or murderer. So at some point, you're going to get old enough to become no threat, harmless to society. And so the parole board's like, well, what are we going to do with this person? Right? Because when you get to that age, you don't really want those people dying in prison. It's just not right. So this is where I'm going to start from in honor of Gene today. While I'm recuperating from this surgery in the same week that he passed away. Crazy. Well, I just wish the good Lord had let me pass away first. Then all these people that have passed away would still be alive. Today, the population of the world is so bad, things are so bad, that every person that's born shortens the life of someone else by 3 years. We're in such a catastrophic state with our environment. We need to slow things down. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with what I just said. To further the answers of Lex Luthor's exhibition from prison, his newfound freedom, I guess it would be a good idea to tell you guys what happened at the last parole board within the prison walls. He and his counterpart Otis sat out for a meager 30 years in. Meager 30 years? For being a smart criminal and not having the wrong kind of long rap sheet as long as his leg, so no murders and stuff, right? Lex knew in the beginning that with good behavior, they could only hold him for so long. So after 30 well-behaved years of being that menace to society, Yet another parole date was finally set. And this is what happened. Prison guard banging on Lex's cage with his dipstick, as Lex likes to call it. Get up, Luther. Your time has come. He bangs even louder on the bars and repeats only louder, Luther, I'm talking to you. Answer me. Acknowledge and understand that these events are getting to be tedious. But still the law says you must be provided with the right to these hearings. Because he's been to so many parole board meetings, right? Prison guard getting annoyed. Lex Luthor says, Yes, all right, I'm up. I will drag my tired old bones out of bed and get dressed for this parole event. How much time do I have to prepare? The prison guard says, 30 minutes. I thought I'd be nice for a change. Lex Luthor, instead of 10 minutes? Oh, I see. Why they, that I should guess that I should say thank you. Believe it or not, on the inside, some of the prison guards Luthor found have, dare he say, a little something called heart. So I guess you could say a bit of a bond or attachment grows between some prisoners and the guards. Because you're getting so old, right? And you never raped or killed anybody. So the prison guards are like, man, dude's in jail for a really long time. Prison guard says, and Lex, one more thing. You didn't hear it from me. But after 30 years of good behavior and attending parole hearings year after year, there is only one thing I have to say to you today. Lex Luthor says, treating the guard with his typical Luthor-like accord. Oh? And what's that, boss? He smiled as he continued dressing, looking at the guard. Prison guard actually says this. Good luck. And that's it. With a mild grin on the guard's face, he turns and walks away. After cracking open the cell doors enough to show Lex he's free to leave his cage. This prison guard actually wants the man out of his prison. Just go. After 30 years of remaining alive behind these prison bars, amongst the jailers who are much younger, wilder, and thoughtless or insane, all any of the guards who've been around for many of the years they've watched him age and survive could say was, well, if anyone within these walls has earned their fair chance to freedom, whether reformed or not, something you can't tell with behavior such as Luthor's, after this length of time aging behind these brick walls, it was him. So they wanted to believe and hope that, he could be released and live the rest of his days out and not be back and be any kind of menace he was like when he was younger. I'd say if you're starting to use walkers, wheelchairs, and canes, they're probably right. Lex Luthor says, thinking to himself, I guess I see his point. I may be crazy, but I'm not a lunatic. I'm not trying to cut people up and dump them into garbage bags, into garbage cans. I'm no Charles Manson, as it were. My goal, as everyone who knows me simply, is what it will always be. To take over the world. To make them all worship me. To make them need their food, their shelter, and employment from me. What can I say? As a mastermind criminal, I've learned. It is necessary to have a little bit of this one thing. Dare I say it again? Heart. But know that word will never leave my lips again once I have been expelled from this building's walls. Of course, he fears that this event will go like all the others did before. On that note, he completed getting himself in order and grabs his cane and exits his cell, turning left, heading in the right direction for yet again another parole hearing. Once at the parole board office, the guard that walked with him there said, sit here and wait and they will call you in. Lex Luthor said before the guard proceeds to his position, What about my loyal companion, Otis? He's much younger than myself. Is he not up for his parole as well? I can't tell you much, but I can say yes, he's up for another parole hearing as well. The details, however, are confidential, so I can't say anything else. Lex Luthor, understood. Return to your post and thanks for the heads up. Lex gets comfortable in his seat and turns to face the parole room. All he can do now is wait. End scene. For that first part. Second session. It felt like he had only been sitting there for but a minute when he was finally called into the room. He, of course, didn't waste a second following the given instructions. Something felt different this time. Something different from all the other parole board review visits. He quickly sat himself down in the chair before the table of members on the board, and immediately he noticed a new member of boards. Right then, a smile came across his face, as his brain was quick to understand that the other ones he was so used to sitting there all those years, at every hearing that was ever given him, have finally retired. So changing of parole board members. Woohoo! And what does that mean about the younger ones and the new ones? They have not been washed up. Dare I say they have some heart. Lex Luthor says, well now, doesn't that beat all? He said to himself under his breath, as he looked across both the tables and saw that only two faces were familiar out of them all. And those ones were still fairly young and would probably be doing this job for some more years yet. But nevertheless, it occurred to him right then that his luck had finally changed, and he knew that if they didn't know much about him, that today would be the day. Lex wasted no time taking over the room. Well, let's just skip over the small chat and not waste anyone's valuable time by allowing me to start with introducing myself. My name is Lex Luthor, to be exact. And if you're up to date on what is before you, then you full well know that I am a man in my 80s now and have been incarcerated for some 30 plus years and have grown used to hearing the parole boards turning me down. So I ask that since every minute of the life I have now is precious to me for not knowing which one might be my last, that the board please be quick in asking their questions and giving their review with their typical reply of my parole being denied. Suckers, he's thinking. I have them eating out of the palm of my hand. He was just being honest in order to grab a hold of their heart, their sympathy and attention. So he did it the wrong way. Lex says, continuing, as some of you may know, I have a history of small petty crimes and a list of pranks I became mildly famous for in the prime of my life. I am not proud of the legacy that my list of pranks left me to have to live out, but it is certainly that justice has been given by having taken so many years of my life that I am now reduced to nothing but this withered up old fool that once had a following and a bit of attention in the news, in the underworld of crime. But many of those people have long since moved on with their lives or have perhaps even passed away, and others still have moved to different places on earth. So what I am left with is me, myself, and I to entertain the last of my days, reminded of what all the previous parole board reviews have said to me every time I have been denied. Parole board member finally interrupts. That's enough, Mr. Luthor. We have heard what you are trying to say, and we are actually here today to ask you rather not the typical questions as you just presumed we are here to ask. In fact, one of the board members here is eager to be the first to ask if you will let us speak. One very important question. And Lex Luthor says, why, of course, go right ahead. I know when I'm politely being told to shut up. Board member number 2 says, tell me, Mr. Luthor, do you believe that after 33 years in prison that you are indeed rehabilitated? Because history today shows this board of members that in that entire time you have never fought with the prison guards or caused any trouble in the prison, whether inside or outside in the yard, This speaks volumes to us as we make our decision here today. Holding back the dance he wanted to do in front of them all in all the seriousness that he could muster, without giving away where he believed today's parole hearing was going to go, he said, "Yes, I do believe that my quiet behavior, displayed for all to see in the years I have been held within these prison walls, to the other more dangerous, younger, more evil criminals and the staff around, that I spent no time wasting my time not learning from the experience of what means to be spending the total amount of years I have now been kept here. So yes, I do believe after 33 years that I am rehabilitated. And I thank you for asking me this question. For so many years, this was not a question at a typical parole hearing that ever even managed to qualify at the hearing. They simply sloughed it off as something not even to bother wasting their time to ask me." So he's really good at this. But the point is, in 30 years or 33 years, he was like, I'm not wasting my time learning from this time, right? Parole Board Member 3 said, "Well then, today I guess is your lucky day, Mr. Luther, because upon reviewing all that I've read, I too simply wish to ask that if you were released back into society, do you believe that you could spend the remainder of your years without causing any public chaos or pranks, as you correctly put it? That you could indeed live an honest and well-mannered life for the time you have left, so that we should never have to see you before our parole board members ever again?" And Lex Luthor says, "Thank you for putting your question that way, parole board member." Lex quickly put his glasses on to peek at the name tag of the new member of the board that just asked his question. "Dale, if I'm reading that name tag correctly, forgive my eyes. Forgive me, my eyes are clearly not as good as they once used to be." Parole board member Dale replies, "Yes, you are reading my name tag correctly. That is my name. Thank you for adjusting me with it." And Lex Luthor says, "You are quite welcome, Mr. Dale. I have always had a well-established relationship with appropriately addressing people by their names. That is, after all, the generation I am from. I was born a long, long time ago, as you well know. In my reply to your question, I do believe that my eyesight does hinder the life I would have outside these walls for the remainder of my years, so to which I don't think you are, or any member of this board, would see my name in the paper with respect to any mastermind crime or public prank. The only section of the paper you might read about me is in the obituaries, a part of the paper I am afraid I can't read all too well for myself at my current age, because the print is so small. So yes, indeed, again, I do believe that I could live my life assuring you and the rest of the board members that you will never see me before you again, should you decide to let me out today." So I just read prophecy, right? The only section you're going to read about me is in the obituary at this board meeting for releasing him from prison. It says, so I'm reading this section for the first time with everyone on the news of Gene Hackman's passing away. The board member Dale, Mr. Dale, replied again, "Thank you, Mr. Luther, with what I do believe is an honest reply from you, which I hear from your reputation is something hard for you to do, because Mr. Luthor is an expert liar, right? But after 33 years, I feel that myself and my parole board members believe that honesty is something you've learned to convey from all these years of good behavior and parole board hearings, always denying you the time to speak. So having earned you your 15 minutes to shine before all of us here today." And he did. He was not lying. He has learned to be honest in his typical Lex Luthor corruptible way. I'm still going to take over the world, even if I'm blind. The parole hearing ran for about 20 minutes. Every member there asked Lex Luthor the questions they had written down in preparation for his being brought before them. They were all indeed very well thought out and prepared. The entire 20 minutes ran delightfully well, but Lex could not stand it, waiting to hear the final decision. He didn't know in which minute that he could begin to dance. The dance of freedom. And then it happened. They asked Lex Luthor to step away from his chair so they could talk amongst themselves, and only after a few minutes of whispering to themselves, they came to a unanimous decision and called Lex back to his seat, which he was quick to take once again. Parole board member Esther, a woman on the board of members, one Lex did indeed recognize from a few of the previous tedious parole hearings, who he realized from age was in charge here today, with the years of experience she had already behind her, finally said, "Well, Mr. Luther, to waste no more of your time, because of how many years you have just given the prison system, I am just going to say it, that today is your lucky day, and that we, the parole board members in this room, believe that you have answered honestly to the best of your ability, that your 33 years of well-behaved time behind you has indeed won you the right to your freedom today." Fly away, Mr. Birdie. Fly away, Gene. Fly away, come back in paradise. You earned your freedom. So, without further ado, Mr. Luthor, I would like to be the first to say, having sat through a few of these reviews with you before, as you know, congratulations, Mr. Luthor. You are free to go. Live the remainder of your years trying to find what kind of decent life you can with all the changes in the world that have taken place with technology and the ecosystem. We imagine that alone will keep you busy and entertained long enough that we are sure we won't see you in this room before this board of members again, and that's exactly what we want to see. So I think the timing was simply about the fact, well, he's just too old to come back, right? The changes of stuff in the world and him being so occupied with trying to figure out how it works and finding people to teach him or hiring people to do all that stuff, right? He's not coming back. So without wasting another minute of your precious time, as you so well put here today for all of us, there's the door. What are you waiting for? Get going. Old age isn't something to waste. Each precious moment is not replaceable. She smiled as she stood to be the first to shake his hand goodbye, while her board member counterparts also congratulated him, while stamping their papers with the green stamp that said parole approved. Lex Luthor, quick to get off his butt, was more than gracious in accepting the handshakes before him. But still, at his age, he didn't know whether to clap and rejoice or faint that indeed this day had come, that the impossible was made possible, that he would not have to spend the rest of the days of his life behind these prison walls. After cordially shaking hands with the review board members, he wasted no time turning around where he could see the prison guard, one that had become all too familiar to him, was standing there with the door wide open for him to leave freely through. What an amazing event as he stepped out of that room on this day, understanding that it most certainly would be for the last time. He wasted no time walking in the direction of his freedom, holding back what he would release from inside him once he got outside, beyond these prison's gates. Oh, I have some pain. End scene. So there is more, but this has gone to end at 30 minutes. So we're going to leave it at the fact that Gene Hackman has flown away and rest in peace, and Lex Luthor is being freed from prison. And then I'll come back and share some more of the Gene Hackman section. This happened to me with Margot Kidder. I'm going to close on that. That I was reading out the Margot Kidder portion of the Supergirl movie in real life when she was still alive, when I had heard the news that she had passed away. And then I got so upset because I had lost Margot. Now I had lost Christopher and her, that I stopped reading out the Margot part. But I won't stop. I will read all of the Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor stuff for sure in different videos. So peace out. Thank you for watching Now TV. And in honoring the legacy of Gene Hackman, please come back for more. Follow youtube.com/IamJustJen and go to futureproductionsonline.com and pre-order your copies now. And look me up on Vocal Media under Jennifer Cooley. Bye for now. I'll be back with more. Peace out. Have a wonderful day. Superwoman signing off.